I wish that didn't do that every time. Good morning, grandkids. Well, it's time for another reading in my book, The Listener, based on the game I played. Okay, let's continue on with a new chapter. After getting back to the sanctuary and turning in the contracts and getting paid, I decided it was time to get on with the business of the Gourmet. I had been dreading it, but the time had come. I decided to take the kid along with me, but leave him to wait with Shadowmere outside of Markarth. I didn't know how close a quarters that I'd have doing a killing in a kitchen. Inside the Markarth keep, I found the kitchen and Antoine the cook. I told him that I knew he was friends with the Gourmet and that I needed to know his name and where to find him. Of course, he refused to tell me. I finally threatened him, letting him know that I was from the Dark Brotherhood. Then he sang another tune. Wait, I'll tell you. I don't want to endanger my own life, he said. Another cook walked into the kitchen. I had to be careful. I walked Anton. I want to call him Antoine. I don't know why. I like that name better than Anton. So I shall call him Antoine. It's my story. I walked Antoine away from them and said, Now, who is he? He's an orc named Balagog Golnolub. He stays at the Nightgate Inn. I thought. I had heard of that place. Very secluded in the snowy foothills of the mountains. Way up between Windhelm and Fort Dunstan, I believe. Pretty far away. At that point, someone else walked in. Too many people in the kitchen. How am I going to get this done? So you'll let me go now, right? As the other two sat down at a table, he walked away from me and sat down with them. Lunchtime, I guessed. I walked out of the kitchen, walking around in the halls, hoping to see the other two cooks come out. Finally, one did emerge and go toward a storage room. I knew I had very little time. I hurried back into the kitchen. The other cook was on the far side of the room, facing away while she gathered up some food. I was close to Antoine, but couldn't chance it. I looked at him and quietly said, Don't make a sound, and I'll let you live. With wide eyes, he gave a nod, turned away, stooping down over a pot on the fire. I slipped up behind the other cook, a woman, and quickly slit her throat. As she dropped with a last gurgling sound, I hurried back to Antoine and quietly said, Is our business done now? He quietly said, Is our business done now? No, I lied, and I cut his throat. I hurriedly dragged both bodies behind some packing crates and was headed toward the door when the third cook walked back in. Where's Antoine? She asked. I brushed past her, saying he had to go somewhere's all I know, and kept going. I hurried through Markarth and out the city gates. It seemed no one had raised an alarm yet. I saw the kid standing by Shadowmere, feeding him something out of his hand. I rushed over and pulled on his sleeve, and we jumped on Shadowmere and took off. I was so glad that I was out of there. Now to find the Gourmet. I decided we'd go to Fort Dunstan on Shadowmere, then travel on foot down to Nightgate, which was by a small lake, and try to be as sneaky as possible. Shadowmere traveled through snow-filled mountains and pine forests. The danger through here was mostly frost spiders, with a few wolves. The spiders were really huge, scary things. Mostly the kid would take care of them by sliding off the horse and whipping out his sword to attack up close. Once I saw him caught between two of them, doing a twirling move that took them both down. Very impressive, I thought. Shadowmere often helped. He seemed to enjoy stomping on things. Once at the fort, I decided to stay on Shadowmere and continue on down a little closer to the inn. When we stopped and got off Shadowmere, I whispered in his ear to be sure and stay close to this edge of the inn as possible, but stay hidden. He nodded his head in acknowledgement. Man, I loved this horse. It was around 3 in the morning when we walked into the inn. There was a nice warm fire going in the center of the room, but no one was around, not even the innkeeper. Good. Everyone would be asleep. I quietly opened each door, peeking inside. Some had people sleeping, some were empty. I checked out the bar around area and saw the stairs going down. I told the kid to stay put and on guard. This led into a large cellar with many barrels and boxes of supplies and produce. In a secluded area among the crates was a bed, and there he was, the Gourmet. He was sleeping facing the wall. How lucky could I get? I hoped it wasn't a trap. I'd heard no warning from the kid upstairs, so I quietly moved across the room and killed him with one stroke of my dagger. He wasn't even aware of going from life to death. I searched him and took the writ of passage, which would admit me to where the Emperor's dinner was being held. Then I dragged his body off the bed, pulled him behind some of the piles of boxes, and hurried back upstairs. The kid said that all was still quiet. We headed out the door, and seeing only one guard in the distance, hurried around the edge of the inn to see Shadowmere waiting. He was always exactly where he was supposed to be. I saw that he had been busy, though, because I saw a couple of dead wolves nearby. I patted him on the nose, told him what a good horse he was. The kid and I jumped on and we took off. I was so glad these 2 jobs were behind me, but the scariest was still ahead. But first, we had to go back and speak with Festus. Back at the sanctuary, I went to find Festus, the grump. He paid me and told me I needed to see Astrid. She said, "Go now to Castle Dower in Solitude. Give the writ of passage to Commander Garrow, who will be guarding the entrance to the kitchen and dining room. Here, take this geranium root to put into his food. Only takes 1 taste and the effects are immediate. The Emperor will be serving Sithis before he even knows he's dead." Once they have served his food, you can escape, through the door leading outside and across the bridge. I've arranged for it to be unguarded. Now go. Let's see you fulfill your destiny as the listener, she said, with a touch of sarcasm in her voice. Outside, I picked up Shadowmere, leaving the kid at his campsite. He could not sneak through this killing with me and be of any help. Once at Solitude, I rode all the way up to the main inner gate of the city. I told Shadowmere to wait there, but that if I had not returned by nightfall, to return to the sanctuary so that they would know that I had either been captured or killed. I went on into the city and up to the tower. Commander Guerra stopped me at the entrance, telling me the tower was off limits. Luckily, I had changed out of my armor and had on black pants and a white long-sleeve shirt and had a white chef hat, which I had bought, dangling from my fingers. I handed him the writ of passage explaining who I was and that I was to prepare the Emperor's dinner. "Oh, I see," he said rather excitedly. "The Gourmet. It's my honor to meet you. Go right on up. The resident cook, Gianna, is eagerly waiting your arrival." I went in, found my way up to the kitchen, and saw Gianna busily stirring a large pot of stew hanging over a fire. I walked over to her as I was putting my chef's hat on and introduced myself. "I'm so honored to meet you," she said. "I've already started the stew from the recipe in your book, but everyone makes it differently. The Emperor requested that you make it according to your secret recipe. The base broth is already boiled, so which ingredient should I add next?" I told her to add carrots and a little nern root for more seasoning. "Now we need to add a special meat in there," I said. "One of my secret ingredients is horker meat." She was enthusiastic as she added that, but then she said, "I have to say, the stew seems done. Add anything else and we may dilute the distinct flavors, so is that it?" If I'm supposed to be the Gourmet, I thought. She was sounding a little sure of herself. I decided to assert my authority a little, just to put her in her place. "Well," I said, "you may think it's ready, but since I'm the Gourmet and it is my secret recipe, I'll let you know when it's finished." "Sorry, sir, of course." "I have one last ingredient to add, which I brought with me. It is very hard to come by," I said. "But, sir, are you sure? It tastes perfect. Any other ingredient might... She looked up and saw my eyes staring into her. Yes, of course," she said. I handed her the geranium root and told her, as she stirred it in, that now it was done. It has been an honor for me having a chance to work with the great Gourmet. I will carry the pot of stew up to the dining room. I'm sure the Emperor is dying to see you." "Oh, I'm sure he is," I thought as I followed along behind her, or soon will be. I was getting nervous, actually, and hoping the guards had been distracted elsewhere and that I had enough invisibility potions. I had one palmed in my hand, ready. As Gianna approached his seat to serve, I walked around the table, giving her room, and to greet him from the other side, nearest the door, and escape. I spoke to him, and he seemed delighted to meet me, saying he was looking forward to tasting my famous stew. I heard bits of conversation and realized that they had been actually discussing what-ifs of someone trying to assassinate the emperor. There were 2 guards in the room, one at each end of the table. Who knew what I might be facing soon? My heart was pounding, and I felt like I was seeing everything in slow motion as he raised the spoon to his lips. I immediately thought of Nazir and hoped that I'd live through this to see him again. As the emperor swallowed and smacked his lips, he said, "Oh, delicious. It is everything I hoped it would be. As his speech started to fumble, everyone was looking at him, away from me. As they realized that something was really wrong, they all rushed toward him, away from me. I drank my potion and slipped out the door behind me, hurried across the bridge and down the stone stairs and out of the guards' tower. Whatever diversion the Brotherhood had planned for the guards evidently had worked. At the bottom was a tunnel which took me back out into the city. Running now, I snatched the stupid chef hat off my head, drank another invisibility potion, hurried on toward the gate. It was open, and I could see Shadowmare just to the side near the bushes. As I passed a bar, I threw the chef hat onto the steps there, drank another potion before going on past a guard and out of the gate. I hopped onto Shadowmare and said, "Let's fly, my friend, let's fly." And that's the end of this episode of The Listener. So stay tuned for next time, and I will see you all then. Bye-bye.